Hello, it's Sean.
I know who you are, silly. How are you?
Not that great.
No,
No.
got going on.
Um, I'm trying to come up with a lawyer still.
Yeah.
Also, I'm trying to get a hold of a lot of witnesses, but a lot of them were harassed to the point that a lot of them are actually completely off of Facebook now, which is good, but it's unfortunate because it's the only way I have to communicate with them.
Right. Yeah, I'm noticing that there's a lot of stuff getting pulled and banned and reported, and I'm just like, seriously?
Well, I did notice that those who supported me on a lot of those groups, people are complaining about a lot of stuff. Oh my God. I saw that Alyssa had something taken down.
Uh huh. Yeah.
That's just insane. She likes the smell of bleach. Bleach that was
I
intentionally given a scent so that you would like it, so that it would be appealing. So then you say, well, it's appealing to me. And
Yep.
then all of a sudden you're self harming or some crap.
Right. No, I like the smell of bleach. I mean, I like it. Like, I mean, obviously, I'm not smelling out of things, but like my towels and stuff, I'll wash them and then I'll deliberately hang them out, like over a railing or something, and rather than dry them, so I smell the bleach smell. But to me, it's just clean. It's not like, oh, I'm gonna drink a bottle of bleach.
Right? It's not like you're drying it out in your oven and snorting a rail or
Exactly.
whatever.
I'm boiling it. I've got it in a Cincy pot. Exactly. It's just crazy.
I've been going through and getting quotes from presidents today. Like,
From who?
if a law is unjust, it's not only my right to disobey it, it's my duty. Although I think
Yeah.
I just misquoted that a little bit, but that and one of my favorites is from President Ronald Reagan. Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall.
Yeah. The
It,
whole thing's just a mess. We went and did our taxes, and they don't give you any deductions whatsoever. None. So we couldn't write off our car registration. We couldn't write off our business expenses. Couldn't write off anything that we had for this prior year that could use us to help basically end up filing bankruptcy to hopefully keep our house. But nope, these new laws are just ridiculous this year.
yeah, you
And
can thank the rich.
yeah, unless you like she said, she goes, unless you're an illegal with 18 to 20 kids, it doesn't benefit you at all. She goes, I had to file a lady who didn't speak any English at all who got $30,000 back, and she's on welfare. And I'm like, Jesus, I don't understand.
I don't understand either. Although I have noticed that there's a lot of people who are making up stories about illegal immigrants to try to get people to come over to their side, kind of like they do with the homeless. Everybody's got these stories of a homeless guy. It's always a convertible in their stories. The homeless guy who's driving around in a convertible BMW or a convertible this or a convertible that. And
Right.
you know, the honest truth is there is probably one or two homeless people out there who actually aren't homeless and actually drive around in a Lamborghini.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
you know, but that's the point is that, you know, two or three people out there saying, all right, well, we're going to ignore 2.5 million homeless people because three of them might be driving in a fancy car. Well,
Mm-hmm.
that's ludicrous. I knew one guy when I was homeless. I knew one guy who had a BMW, and he had that BMW because it's the car he was driving when he ended up homeless.
That's exactly what I was just gonna say. I'm sure it was paid off, and he had that prior to become homeless.
Yep, There's another lady. She had a BMW, and her and both of her sons ended up homeless, and she didn't have it completely paid off. So they came and repoed it. They actually couldn't come and repossess it from her. She had to go drive out of state to take it to the place where they wanted to repossess it, so that she wouldn't be charged with theft. So
What?
yeah.
Wow. I haven't heard that one before.
Well, they do a lot of stuff when you're homeless, and they can get away with it. On the bright side,
Exactly.
she was honest enough to take that car back. She's like, I bought this car. I had a good job. My husband
Right.
was an alcoholic and beat us, and as a result, I ended up homeless. And the car was in both of our names, so life happens.
Exactly.
My friend
Yep.
Janine, she went to her daughter's graduation when her daughter graduated from college. And her husband, that's when her husband decided to let her know that he got a 18-year-old girlfriend. And he literally left Janine and her son homeless in Colorado. They lived in Hawaii at the time.
Wow.
Yep,
People are pretty damn selfish.
they are. And I keep getting called selfish. Like, for me,
I don't think so.
well, I let Candace know what was going on. And I also let Lana and Amanda know what was going on. And
Uh,
I don't know if the Bollingers got to them, or if their biker buddies got to them, or what. But with Candace, I know that the police got to her. I mean, she
uh,
was she was scared shitless after all that happened with Officer Michael Beard.
right.
Candace realized that if these people came after her, the law was not going to do anything to stop them.
Right. Do you know
So
if Ted's out or is he still sitting?
I don't know. I'm
Yeah,
hoping
see,
if he does get out, somebody will let me know, though.
I know, that's what I haven't seen or anything, and Alyssa doesn't have access to that anymore that I'm aware of as far as, I don't know if she could get a hold of somebody um, to find out if he is still in or not, but
Well, if he's in jail, whether he's in jail or out of jail, he has access to get a hold of people who can come and get me at any point in time. That's a good reason for me to keep on moving. Um,
exactly.
Candace, she thought I was BSing about what was happening, but when Officer Beard showed up, uh, that scared the hell out of her. I mean, she realized at that point that I was telling the truth about what was going on. She accused me of
Right,
being selfish because I put her and her kids at risk. I'm like, I told you what was going on.
right.
If you'd stuck through like you said you would, we could have fought this, and these people, these predators, would not be out here.
Absolutely right. Yep.
At this point, I'm actually fighting to see that, and it sucks because I do love the woman, but I'm trying to see to it that Natalie's sister is put in prison for the things that she's done.
I mean, I get she's young and I get that she's probably afraid, but I think she fucked you over big time too. And I don't know how much of it was her wording, her doing, her saying, compared to what her dad was putting in her head and taking it upon himself too. But she's guilty too, no question.
Well, she started this in Virginia. All of this came about because Natalie and Alicia were fighting over a boy. Natalie was
Right,
trying to get some time alone with me so we could have one on one conversation, and her sister wasn't having it.
right,
So, I mean, this all came about, and literally, the reason that Natalie was suicidal, the whole reason that she wanted to kill herself is because of how her sister and her mom were treating her in Virginia. And that's
right,
not to say that that was all of it. I mean, she was having problems, the conflict of emotion where she loved her dad, but she also understood that her dad did a lot of really bad things to her and he was not a good
right.
man. Now, I do wholeheartedly intend on fighting this as long as I can. I mean, I fight the urge to kill myself daily over how I've been treated. But at the same
Right.
time, I'm after prison for all of the Bollingers, all of them.
Oh, absolutely. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, I get you're having it tough, and I get you have been railroaded and fucked over left and right. But at the end of the day, you have a big mission that you have to see through. You know.
Indeed. Now, see, if these people would come forward and be honest, that's the difference between them and I get ashamed, but I don't
Right.
get embarrassed under any circumstances. I just don't have that emotion.
Right.
Whereas these people, um, if they were to come forward and be honest, the consequences for them would be great. Matter of
Oh,
fact,
absolutely.
at least three of the Bollingers would likely commit suicide if they had to tell the truth, and Alicia is one of them.
Well, look at Dad. I mean, knowing if you came forward and said what you did to your little girls, I mean, I don't see anybody even else. They'd love him in prison if he had that certain color bracelet around his arm,
Yes, ma'am.
knowing what you did. Oh, they would love him.
It's difficult for me if they were to come forward and be honest. That's the thing, is that they would only have to deal with the public scrutiny.
Right.
Because if they were to come forward, I wouldn't press charges. I would drop all of it.
You're a better person than I would. I'd be trying to still press charges.
Well, they're not going to allow me to press charges. That's been made painfully obvious.
Right. Yep.
As far as being ashamed of myself, there are things that I did that I am ashamed of. But the laws that I broke, I'm not ashamed of breaking the laws.
Nobody's perfect. I mean, everybody's done stuff to be ashamed. It's life, and sometimes you have to do things you're not proud of to protect yourself.
Yes,
I
ma'am.
mean, that's just the way it is.
The other thing most people aren't understanding is that I'm willing to spend the rest of my life in prison for two reasons. Number one, so that Alicia can't pretend anymore. And number two, because getting the laws to change so that homeless people are treated like human beings. I mean
Yeah.
that is worth so much to me because I'm not the only homeless person out there going through this. Although
No.
most homeless people were not falsely accused of murder. My friend
And that's
John,
that's one thing that just bothers me. Even to this day, it's like they put a label on you and stamped you with that, even though there's somebody still sitting in jail who's admitted to it. But you still have that label, and I don't. It just makes me so damn angry. Of what are you doing? What are you trying to prove here? Why are you crucifying this man who's done nothing? Why the person sitting behind bars who admitted it is doing nothing? I don't understand.
it's because admitting they're wrong is not something that most humans are capable of.
Right.
Between admitting they're wrong and going and finding another excuse, they'll find that other excuse. As soon
Right.
as they found Lopez, all of this didn't stop because they still had that whole "you're a stalker" thing going on.
Right. Yeah.
Fact is, they were stalking me. So I've
Right.
been going through. I was allowed into another group yesterday. I got to go through and take a bunch of screenshots of that. There's a lot of people who they blocked me, so I can't see what it is that they're saying.
Mhm.
But like when I go to those groups, their stuff is magically deleted. It's not that it's deleted; it's that I just can't see it. But also, I've
Right.
been informed that there's most of the threats against my life that are in these groups. I've been informed that those threats were taken down. So even though I have access to that information now, I don't have access to all of it.
Right. Well, I know the Natalie site you had when it was public and you changed it over into private. The question was, I had two questions. I want to say, like, what was your intent of joining this group? And the second one I had is, do you support Sean? And instantly, if you don't support Sean, I'm not, you know what I mean? I was like, no, delete. You're not going to come in here because I'm not going to have you trolling because I don't know the people that you knew, you know what I mean? And if you don't have good intentions of just truly trying to find out the truth and you're going to judge you, I don't want you coming into this group making things a little harder on you or coming after you or talking shit when you did nothing.
Well, you know, I can't honestly say that I did nothing because I actually did a lot. I said a lot of really mean things, but you know, that was to defend myself. And the point is that I wasn't going out of my way to start shit. What I was doing is
No, but
defending
you didn't
myself.
murder anybody. There's a
Exactly.
difference.
I didn't stalk anyone either.
No, there's a difference. And that's why my point was is I'm not going to have you accused of crap or just having these trolls reporting back to the Bullingers or this or that or because it's a private group. And I'm just like, no. If I don't like your answer, no.
You
I mean,
know,
do you think that you'd be smart enough to at least lie and say, yes, I support you? You know what I mean? If you wanted to be a part of the group. Instead, they're dumb enough to like, no, I don't support them. Okay, then good. Bye.
well, see, that's something about me not being allowed in these groups is that Kara Johnson is active in nearly all of them. And Kara
Yeah.
Johnson, while she was pretending to be buddy buddy with me, um, and so was Shelly and Danica, you know, I didn't have access to these groups. So Shannon Alvarado started sending me screenshots of what Kara Johnson was saying because I let her know that Kara was helping me. Um,
Gotcha.
you remember the day that I went to Joseph Lopez Court?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the day that Shannon let me know what was going on with that. The reason for that is because Kara Johnson was saying that um, uh, Shelley was concerned and it was a rough day in court, and I was trying to find out what was going on there. She was claiming that her and um, Shelley had been longtime friends. She also claimed that she was an autism activist and among other things, and she was pretending like she was going to help me, same as Shelley pretended she was going to help me, and same as Danica pretended she was going to help me. My frustration at all of that was that I was being victimized while they were pretending.
Right. Yeah, they're stabbing you in the back when you turned around.
Yep. Meanwhile, Shelley and Danica both let me know that they were deathly afraid of Ted. So
Right.
when that happened to Candace's, and mind you, they used my fear of what Ted would do to his own family on more than one occasion.
Right.
That night at my grandma's funeral, that was again a situation where Ted was on Alicia's account. Alicia had my phone number. She could have called me, but he was asking for my phone number. Why would he be asking for my phone number when Alicia has my number? If she's
Mm-hmm.
on her account, she should be there with him. She should be able to give him my phone number, and she didn't, which led me to
Right.
believe that he had done something wrong to her. I called
Uh-huh.
911 over that, and the police refused to do anything about it. Now, they showed up and played like they would do something because there were two people there that, you know, could bear witness to it, but when it all came down to it, they didn't even fill out a report. And legally, they
Right.
have to fill out a report on a 911 call.
Right.
As far as the stuff that they would not do for me, they did those things for the Bollingers.
Yeah, which I don't understand. I mean, they're they're not the victims. That family is just a mess, and Ted needs to be looked at. And I just wish that somebody would listen and just realize that if he's such an amazing stand-up father and he's so great, why is he sitting in jail again?
He's sitting in jail again because he failed to appear in court over a meth charge.
Right. So you're a meth head, showing that everything that you've said was valid and truthful, going all the way back to their childhood and the emails that Natalie wrote you. I mean, it just confirms it all. I mean, why is nobody smart enough to put two and two together and realize that, shit, we need to be kind of looking at, there's pieces missing here. And Sean's not the missing piece. It's Ted and whoever else is around.
Well, it's not just that, it's also the cops' failure to look at the information because they're trying to protect other cops. The blue line of
Right,
BS. They're organized, whereas the people that I'm trying to work with, most of them don't have telephones because they're homeless. The only way I can get a
right,
hold of them is on Facebook, and I have to wait for a reply. Now, all those Facebook bans that I was on, it's not because I did anything wrong, it's because I was speaking out, and the Bollingers had all of their internet crazies coming after me, and they literally complained about everything.
right.
Meanwhile, the things that these people were complaining about were things that they were doing. Like that
Mm-hmm.
Adam Klein guy. Oh my God, that dude was a POS. So
Which one was he? That name's familiar.
Adam Klein, he was the troll from the Truth for Natalie Bollinger No Drama, or the Real Truth for or Real Justice. I don't know, something like that.
Yeah, that name's familiar. I know I've run across that name, and I was just like, what the fuck's your problem, dude? I'd like to punch you in the throat.
Well, see, that's the thing is that a lot of people say things like that. A lot of it's directed at me, though.
No, it's like, you know what? You can sit there and hide behind a screen and act like you're tough shit, but it's like, you're not in your shoes. You know what I mean? You're not having to deal with half the shit that you have to deal with personally on a day-to-day basis. You're just sitting there behind a screen being a troll talking shit to people.
Well, the other thing is that all of these people lied on court documents, which
Mm-hmm.
means that they're eligible for jail time. Not just civil
Right,
court, but actual criminal charges.
right,
The problem is, I do need somebody in my corner who's willing to pursue that with me, and nobody that I know is, well, nobody who could help me as far as that goes cares enough to understand that. Here, one moment.
for a walk.
It is. What was I
Before
saying
that.
before I cut you off?
Oh, no, you're good. You were talking about having somebody in your corner for the charges or for moving forward.
Yeah, the majority of the people that I know who are on my side, they're homeless. So
Right.
for
They're
me,
hard to
being able
find.
to move forward, people keep saying stupid stuff like you just need to move on. I was prevented from moving on because I was determined to go to all those court dates. They did
Right.
everything that they could to send me into a panic attack, to refuse to do their jobs, and to ultimately assault me repeatedly. And these officers intentionally assaulted me. They also
Right.
withheld evidence, they lied on court documents, they stole evidence. That protection order from Natalie, I can't find it.
Like physically can't find it, or if it's
Physically, when I went in to show all of that, when I was in Longmont, it was Officer Amanda Jonas from Longmont,
right.
Officer Brian Valenzuela from Sheridan, and the guys from the Secret Service. And I took the protection order from Natalie in there with me. That protection order shows wrongdoing on the part of the county clerk office as well as wrongdoing on the part of the judge. But the other thing is, like, I cannot defend myself in court. I'm not allowed. They just say I'm mentally ill and it makes it fine. So, like, for almost a year before Natalie was killed, I was trying to get a hold of a lawyer to fight this.
Right.
Being able to see my friends and family without being assaulted as a child molester or rapist, that was pretty important to me. Because, first of all,
Yeah.
even if I had molested her, which I didn't, she was at least 18 years of age when I was in Virginia, which means I
Right.
wouldn't have been a child molester. And second, like, the thing with Maddie Boa is that when I was leaving Virginia, I called Maddie to let her know what was going on because she was a friend of mine. And she didn't care what I had to say. She told me that Alicia had called her and let her know uh, that I had threatened her family. I'm like, I did not threaten her family. I did not. And ultimately, I did threaten her family. I threatened to take them to court. When
Right.
I threatened to kill people, I did threaten to kill people.
But that was way after the fact. I mean,
Exactly. That was after hundreds of death threats
yeah.
against me and at least 30 assaults by civilians, as well as 7 assaults by the police.
Yeah.
I mean, Well, all right, not 7 assaults by the police because several of those assaults happened afterwards. 4 of them happened immediately after I was arrested. But
Hmm.
the people that I threatened to kill were very specific people. The people who threatened to kill my friends, my family, and myself.
But from what I saw in the videos, they weren't, I'm going to kill you, Sean. It was more of, you come after me, I'm going to protect myself. I
Exactly.
never, I never heard you say anything of, I'm going to kill you. It was, you come after me, I'm going to defend myself and I'm going to do what I need to do. I mean, it's a
Exactly.
fight or flight reaction.
And that's the thing is that a lot of people keep telling me I need to move on still to this day. And I'm like, if you spend $1,000 to get me a vehicle and licensing and insurance and all of that, I'm still only one police interaction away from being shipped
Right.
back to Colorado and assaulted in the jails. The other
Yep.
thing is that I will be going to jails where I have been assaulted by the guards previously.
Right.
So people are like, well, you should just go serve your time. I'm like, no, I'm not going to go be abused and assaulted over pretending by other people. I'm not going to go
Right.
be abused and assaulted and incarcerated for defending myself. And I'm not going to be abused and assaulted and incarcerated over things that I didn't do. I
Right.
was forced to break the law. Now, as far as
Yep.
Ken Wilson and Leah Plunkett go, those two people literally they took advantage of a disabled person, stole from a disabled person, lied about a disabled person, and prevented that disabled person from getting their personal stuff and from getting their money and from having an honest day in court.
Was that the guy with the truck?
Yeah,
Oh, well, he got what he deserved.
no, he didn't. His truck wasn't damaged.
Oh, damn it.
Yeah, when I said I lit the fire next to his truck, I meant it. When I made the video, I said I lit his truck on fire because I needed the cops I needed to force it to be documented.
Oh,
Unfortunately, they didn't document it.
jeez.
Yeah,
I thought his truck was destroyed.
no, ma'am. I wouldn't do that to another person. It took me 20 minutes after I poured the gas on the ground. It took me 20 minutes to psych myself up enough to even light the fire.
Right.
Like,
No, I know, and that's what pisses me off. Because everybody makes you out to be this just bad person, a bad guy, and it's like if anybody would just sit and talk to you and didn't know, you don't have a mean bone unless you have to defend yourself. And if you're pushed, yes, everybody turns quickly if you're going to be pushing me, pushing me, pushing me. But if you just want to be respectful and you want to listen and you want to learn and not be judgmental, you'll see a lot of things. I mean,
I was
you're
trying to
not a
explain
bad
that to
person.
Dan. I really tried hard to explain that to Dan Faber.
Yeah, I was going to ask you what happened to that because I saw that in that group message yesterday. Why is Dan still here? So I'm like, oh shit, they're fighting again.
Well, the whole situation with that is that, all right, he took sides based on his assumptions, not based on what actually happened, and he did that multiple times and refused to talk to me about it. Instead, he just typed a bunch of really mean assumptions.
Mm-hmm.
One of them was with a guy named Brandon Jepson, who used to be my best friend. We had a long history together. And Dan had no idea what was going on with that, but he wanted to chime in his own 2 cents, taking Brandon's side. He did the same thing with a woman named Diane Boatman. Now, the thing with Diane is that she's a meth head, and she tries really hard to quit. She really is. She does her best by her community and by her son, who's severely schizophrenic, but they're both homeless. So, I mean,
So it's tough, yeah.
and she never did drugs until her husband died. Like that
Right.
was her life. And then there was the situation with Layla Johnson, and she ended up not even being a real person. But I do love her for everything that she tried to do. The problem is she wouldn't talk to me; she would only text, and it pisses me off because she pretended a lot of stuff. Like she pretended she tried to kill herself by drowning herself. She even sent me pictures of the woman she was pretending to be when she had gotten out
Oh,
of the shower. I'm like, oh my God, like
how
seriously.
sick are you? Yeah, you got some issues.
And I didn't find out that that was the case until after I'd already left Montana. Matter of fact, I think I might have just gotten back from Montana when I found that out. But I had
Wow.
a major deal to deal with there because I mean I needed Lana's help and I was staying at Lana's house and I needed Layla's help and the thing with Layla is that she wanted to have phone sex with me and I was trying to explain to her that I'm not I'm not that guy. And I was also
Right.
trying to explain to Lana that, hey, I'm not going to have sex with you. But that was the second day that I was up there that Lana was trying that. And that set the tone and the pace for the rest of the time I was in Montana.
Right.
Like, if I'm going to talk to somebody, I need to be able to talk in a way that I'm going to be able to defend myself. Whereas
Right.
I let them take their time and say what it is that they needed to say. When I tried to say something, they were instantly rebuttal about it. Like instantly, they didn't care what it is that I had to say. They were too busy interrupting me and treating me like trash. When
Right.
Miss Jerry showed up, she showed up for 2 whole days out at Lana's to help me out, but she didn't help me out at all. Instead, her and Lana sat down at the kitchen table, and that's just how it went. They sat there and hung out for 2 days. I'm like, Miss Jerry, I do need help, you know?
Right.
But the other thing is, I went up there specifically not to see Lana and Amanda, but specifically to see Miss Jerry. The problem is that Lana has quite a hold over Miss Jerry, and Miss Jerry, being as she was a very attractive young woman for a long time, she has a lot of dudes who, well, she's a player straight up. She literally would have been homeless the entirety of her adult life if she wasn't so good at using men.
Wow.
She's also a great teacher and an excellent artist. She's
Right.
my best student as far as teaching people how to do portraits. Miss Jerry is bar none my best student.
I don't think you could ever teach me.
I could.
I'm all about the sticks.
When I was
I tried.
15, when I was 15, I couldn't draw stick figures, so you're better off than I was.
I still draw like a kindergartner.
Yep. Well, when I teach people how to draw, the first thing I teach them how to draw is eyes. A lot of people that I know, they sit down and they draw a face, and the face is absolutely beautiful. The problem is that it's not a beautiful face because they did the eyes wrong. The eyes bring
Right.
everything out. So because
Right.
they forget small details like putting a reflection in, everything looks flat.
Hmm.
And then another thing that people don't do is because you have to be up close and personal to draw a picture, they don't step back to take a look at it. Like when I draw a picture and I think I'm done with it, I'll set it up on the wall and I'll take a step back 10 or 15 feet. If
Right.
it doesn't look right, it means it's not dark enough.
Right. Yeah, I know. I've seen some people online on Facebook that were drawing their animals that have passed away, and I saw one of Timmy, and I'm like, I want one of Timmy. I'm like, but I'm not gonna pay somebody. I don't have the money, but I mean, I might pay somebody if I had the money to do it. But
If you had the
I'm like,
money, that's right.
exactly. If I had the money, I might pay somebody to do it. But I just, I don't know. I just see their pictures and they look so good. They just kind of bring them back to life a little bit. And like, it's too bad I can't draw anything other than a crooked stick figure.
Right, and that's how I drew them. I didn't have a problem with making them crooked. My lines were always, they weren't crooked, they were arched. But my heads came out looking like cinnamon rolls. I couldn't draw a circle.
Exactly.
Matter of fact, I still can't draw a circle.
Mine come out more like ovals. Mine are football heads.
Yup, exactly.
Or they all look like Charlie Brown.
That's why I developed my the way that I draw those pictures, like that one of Samuel L. Jackson. I
Mm-hmm.
just made swirlies. I took the pencil and basically just went around in circles a whole bunch, and depending on how hard I was pressing on the paper, it would become darker or lighter. And I
Right.
always start off light and then darken it in because it's a lot easier to do that than it is to erase. Once you erase, you rough up the paper and then it catches more pigments than you want it to catch. It's also difficult to erase it again.
Right.
But with Dan, he helped me out a lot financially, but the thing is, I needed that money to actually count. Um, and that's part of the issue with up in Montana is that the money and the time that myself and Dan and a lot of other people spent and invested into believing Lana and Amanda, it all ended up being bullshit. It cost us money, and I mean that's something that I feel ashamed of. When I say I don't get embarrassed, I mean it. When I say I do get ashamed, yes, I do. I'm ashamed
Right.
of a lot of my friends because of the things that they chose to do, knowing that I was telling them the truth. Like Candace, she knew that I'm an honest person. You know, when I said that things were really messed up, she should have believed me. When she
Right.
realized I was telling the truth, that created quite an issue. Now, as far as Dan went, well, I should say, as far as Candace went, she started that GoFundMe that I was trying to start to get my castle fund going. Me and Shauna Sinclair and Miss Peaches were all going to work on that the day that I found out that Natalie was missing. Candace started that for me, and after Clearview, which I tried to kill myself over how she was treated by the police, I realized that they're not going to let it go. They're not ever going to let it go.
Right.
And I thought that if I killed myself, I could keep my friends and family safe. And they don't have that in their heads. They don't register that at all because all of these people have families. Like Lana, she couldn't handle any of this by herself. If it weren't for her daughter getting paid $11 an hour, she couldn't afford the place that she's staying in. And even with her and her daughter's wages, I'm pretty sure they're selling drugs. Not
Right.
drugs. I shouldn't say drugs because neither one of them do drugs. Amanda quit doing meth when she had kids, but they're definitely selling marijuana.
Right.
Matter of fact, they had pounds of it while I was up there. They kept on giving me free weed, thinking that was going to help, and then they tell me, "Well, you just need to smoke a bowl. You just need to smoke a bowl." I'm like, ladies, I am so stoned out of my gourd that I cannot function. I have things I need to do. Smoking is not going to help. But then they're, getting mad at me because I'm not smoking. Well, we're not going to help you if you're not stoned. Like, oh my God,
Oh yeah. I didn't come here for peer pressure. I'm not 13 anymore.
right? And don't get me wrong. I mean, there's situations where marijuana helps, but
Absolutely.
I know when it's going to help, and most of the time it's not. And if it's not going to help me, I don't want to smoke it because I don't like being stoned. I like being sober.
Right. Right.
But as soon as I got out of Clearview, um, Candace had started that GoFundMe, and there was some money that was already on it. And then Karamia had started a GoFundMe for and a group to help me out with finances. And Candace, well, she didn't send any of the things that she sent to me. She only sent Karamia the things that I had to say to her, which they weren't nice, and they weren't going to be nice for good reason. But
Right.
Karamia, she didn't find out what was going on. She just took Candace's word for it. And mind you, Candace has lied to me on multiple occasions because she doesn't want to admit that she made the decision, not somebody else. So she gave the GoFundMe that she started for the castle to Karamia, and Karamia basically deleted both of those. She also kicked out everybody who was in that group, and I was finally able to get Karamia to talk to me about it. But that was after the damage had already been done.
Right.
And there was a third lady who was trying to start a GoFundMe for me, but I was also told that there were three other groups that started GoFundMes for me that I hadn't been in contact with. So this third GoFundMe, it ended up, being trashed as a "we aren't going to help you" thing. And then I made a GoFundMe when I got Christina's account, and that helped me to be able to do it myself. And then I used that to start an actual GoFundMe for the castle thing again. And it was supposed to end on my birthday. Literally, 0 people donated anything to it.
Right.
So there were 5 GoFundMes set up for the Bollingers. That 3 of them at least were set up for Ted, who
Mm-hmm.
we know what he spent the
Oh,
money
yeah.
on. And that's the thing, is that they got public outcry, public support, and a lot of
Yep.
public hatred towards me because of the way that I was painted. And everything that I had to do between when I left Virginia and when Natalie died, I posted that on Facebook for a reason, so that it would be
Right.
documented. And it needed to be
Yep.
documented.
Yep.
But also, if I'd have had my choice about it, I'd have left it public. I had to take it
Right.
down because people were destroying evidence.
Right. Yeah, that his Facebook or his GoFundMe just pissed me off. I mean, he's got all these things, and then literally you're in Chicago at the World Series out partying. I mean, yeah, you're pathetic. You use the GoFundMe page for sympathy, all of these other things when the funeral is paid for by the state, and then you go ahead and you're out partying with it. Come on, you're disgusting.
Well, if I had my way about it, I'd have, I don't want to fight this fight. I would rather be dead because I'm
Right.
so alone in it. But also, the thing that keeps me going is people lying to me.
Right.
That's the thing with Miss Shelley and Miss Danica and that Kara Johnson lady and Layla Johnson. They all said that they were going to help. They didn't. Well, Layla Johnson did, but those other 3, I mean, they were basically interested in framing me for things that I didn't do. They were interested. They
Right.
knew exactly what they were doing as far as sending me into a panic attack. They lied to me outright on multiple occasions, and Natalie trusted Miss Shelley. Natalie told me that the only person that she trusts other than me is Miss Shelley. Well,
And is
obviously,
was that her mom or who exactly is that?
that's her ex-stepmother. When I
Okay.
was in
Okay.
Virginia, Miss Shelley had just been beaten up by Ted again. So uh, they were trying to get Miss Shelley to move out there. Matter of fact, while I was in Virginia, Natalie and Alicia were looking for an apartment for me. They wanted me to move out there. I didn't really feel comfortable with that. But that's
Right.
the whole thing that I should have been allowed to bring up in court, and I should have been able to speak to my accusers. Because the fact is, these people accused me of things that I didn't do, and I should have been
Right.
allowed to show that evidence. The other thing is,
Absolutely.
what they did is they went through and they took out the parts that they wanted out of the evidence and then destroyed the rest of it. Like that Michelle Brannick profile. I did make that. I didn't hide the fact that I made that at any point in time. I made that because I was planning on committing suicide and I wanted my Facebook destroyed. But they were apparently using some of the information from the Michelle Brannick profile in court against me, court that I was not allowed to go to. But at the same time, the Michelle Brannick profile was destroyed before I knew how to take screenshots, so I can't show the whole truth. I can't show the things that Maddie said and typed.
Right.
And the fact that I was being ganged up on. And that's something that I deal with everywhere because I don't have anyone in my corner. Like,
Right.
even where I'm at now, um, I'm having arguments with the guy here, and he can't win an argument, so he asks his wife to help. Like, way to go. Same thing with Lana and Amanda. Lana and I got into an argument in texting over her sending a bunch of cruel stuff to me and being extremely evil about it. And she was losing the argument, so she had Amanda start texting me and harassing me. So I need to press charges against them too. And I don't want to do that. I want them to come forward and be honest. But the fact is, Lana is a player.
Right.
She's a twister and a manipulator. And with Jamie, Jamie was the one girl I thought I was in love with. Now, I wouldn't have sex with her when she was drunk because it's rape. So she went out and had sex with all of my bullies and hers when she was drunk.
Uh,
And then she'd say things like, well, if a man has sex with a woman while she's drunk, I have no respect for him. Well, you may not have respect for him, but you like the dick enough to go back.
exactly. Yep.
And with Jamie, what destroyed our relationship as friends is that I didn't have sex with her. It got to the point where she was expecting sex, and she needed to tell me straight out because I'm autistic. I don't get hints. And I
Right.
explained that to her repeatedly. She's like, well, I can't do that because a woman who does that, it makes her a whore. And then she literally did that in front of me to at least 4 different guys. So I'm like, all right, Jamie, you're a whore.
That makes a whole, yeah, exactly. That's a little you're contradicting yourself a whole lot there.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're like, I'm not paying you. That's not what I'm getting at. That's a whore, but if you ask for it just to explain it to me or give me hints that
You,
are a little bit more aggressive until you know where you stand, okay, it's a little different.
you know what the thing that ultimately made me block Dan was?
But
Well, Shannon, her daughter beats the holy fuck out of her. Her daughter's
the
autistic and
autistic
immobile.
one,
Yep, and she bites her and pulls her hair and hits her, and she does this all day long. And Shannon is
right?
constantly cleaning her house. Her daughter will go grab stuff and she'll throw it. And she does this all day long, making a mess of the house
Right.
and breaking glass, breaking anything that she can break, because she's frustrated. And also, her daughter smiles real big about it because that's the way that she's learned to get attention. Um, so me and Shannon, back before I went to California to meet her, me and Shannon had talked on 3 different occasions. The first time I
Did
was
you
in,
finally meet her?
I did. I spent the last month there.
Really?
Yes, ma'am. We
Well, that's,
kept it
I mean,
pretty
that's
hush
good.
hush and secret for a reason. She didn't want to get harassed, and she didn't want.
No, I totally get that. I mean, Shannon, me and her had talked a lot when you were in jail, and I mean, we were talking quite a bit. And her daughter is a handful, and it's tough.
Yeah,
I mean,
she bit me at least 100 times while I was there, and she probably pulled my beard 100 times and hit me at least 100, maybe 200 times. Her daughter is extremely violent.
yeah.
Um, but also,
And she's
there's 3 people there that
funny.
are dealing with her. One of them is Shannon's boyfriend, who gets really aggressive. He's military trained, so much like the
Oh,
police, he's too aggressive. And
yeah.
then there's Shannon, who's overwhelmed, and then there's me, who I just take it. I mean, I'm used to taking physical abuse.
Right.
But as far as the phone calls went, the first phone call with Shannon, I was in Sydney, Nebraska, and um, she was going to listen to me. I was like, finally, somebody who's willing to listen to me and do so on the phone instead of asking questions and typing. But she didn't. She was drunk. Every single time that she spoke to me on the phone, she was drunk because the way that she copes with her
Uh,
daughter is as soon as 6:30 rolls around, she gets a massive bottle of wine and she drinks it, and she does this nightly. So
not
she
good, but I can't blame her.
exactly. So um, when I talked to her on these 3 different occasions, all 3 times she was drunk, and the first 2 times she dominated the conversation by talking nonstop. And I'm like, I need your help. I gave you my phone number because you said you would listen. And like with you, you do listen. But with Shannon, she's drunk and she was pushing the library nonstop. I mean, so many people
Right.
said, why don't you just go to the library? And I got sick of explaining it and texting. So by
Right.
the third time that I was talking to Shannon, um, let's say somebody talks about something, they make a suggestion, and it takes them 10 seconds to make the suggestion. Shannon doesn't do that. She'll make the same suggestion 10 times in that 10 seconds. And then when you explain to her why it doesn't work, she'll talk over you to make the suggestion 10 more times. And then she'll try to convince you of what you just explained is not a working thing. She is drunk. She's not hearing what you said. She's hearing her own
Right.
internal monologue. So
Right.
the third time that I talked to her, I stopped. I let her know that she needed to shut up and listen because she wasn't helping. She was hurting me by wasting my time and making the same suggestions over and over. Now, at the time, I didn't realize that she was a drinker. I just assumed she was on crack or methamphetamines, and I called her a crackhead. And I screamed at the top of my lungs at her. I'm like, I am tired of this. If you are
Right.
not going to listen, stop right now. Stop. And I had to do that at least 5 times in that conversation before I screamed at her to ask her to stop.
Right.
And so Dan, he just last week or so, he was 2 weeks ago maybe, he was throwing that conversation with Shannon in my face. Well, you treat people like shit who try to help you when they call you. I'm like, dude, you are so far off base. Like, you should call me to find out what's going on instead of texting shitty assumptions at me, because while he's texting me, I just want to eat a goddamn bullet.
Right.
And to
Well, not
this
only
day,
that, but
just
you
seeing
didn't hear
his
the
name.
conversation. It wasn't a three-way conversation.
Exactly.
So you don't know what was said. So how can you speak on somebody else's behalf if you weren't there?
And the other thing is, if Shannon's not going to hold that over my head, why is he?
Right.
I mean, Shannon, we had a lot of conversations about her drinking while I was there. The reason for that is because when she gets drunk, one of two things happens. Either A, her boyfriend gets drunk with her and they have sex, or B, she's drunk alone and treating him like shit over stuff that, obviously he has no control over.
Right.
And, a lot of that is that he believed her that she was going to do certain things that she ended up not doing because, alcohol, when you drink nightly, does get expensive. And there's a lot of other stuff going on in her life that's expensive. And I'm not judging Shannon. I'm just stating the facts.
Right.
And, it got to the point where, her boyfriend drives for Uber. So when I left, they were having an argument every single night because she was drunk and he wasn't, about him cheating on her.
Oh,
And then during
gosh.
the
And that's
day,
what you need is more drama.
exactly, and all day long she's screaming at her daughter because her daughter is hitting her and pulling her hair. So
Right.
the only time I have to work on anything is at night. Now I need help, and we made agreements. I would help Shannon with certain things if she would help me with certain things. The problem
Right.
is she needed the help. She needed not expect me to do it by myself because, first of all, if I'm working on your house, you as the homeowner have to make decisions,
Right.
And second of all, if I need your help and I need you to actually be there, you do have to actually be there.
Right.
So by the time, that it got around to me finally leaving, I mean, I was so overwhelmed with the constant screaming all the time because during the day she's screaming because she's being abused, and at night she's screaming because she's drunk. And people are like, you shouldn't allow showing around your kids and all these places. They're like, if it's all these kids that are, screaming that are overwhelming him, and it's like, no, it's not the kids. It's that these parents are, they don't have real good coping mechanisms. With
No,
Shannon, it's
not at all.
understandable. But then a lot of the other places that I was at, like Sally Treon's, oh my God, that was nonstop screaming, literally nonstop screaming the whole time I was there. I had to
Wow.
pass out through people screaming at each other. And,
You need
finding
to
out,
figure out a way to get you some good headphones. Just block out all these yelling and screaming.
I did have headphones. I put them in frequently.
Oh, I'm sure. Gosh, I mean, it was good that you got a little mini vacation to California, but unfortunately, it wasn't what was planned.
Yeah, well, the other thing about that is I planned on going to California because there's a guy I know in Chapel, Nebraska, and he let me know that there's some bikers down in California. If all else fails, I can go to them and they'll take care of business for me. So that's what I did. But
Right.
also, there's a guy named Graham, and he was supposed to send me all of my information, all of this paperwork to California to Shannon's house. And he was supposed to do it on Friday. This is just a few days after I
I
left
remember
Colorado.
this. I remember you telling me about that.
Took him 6 weeks to send it. So yeah, that's the major issue. I mean, all these people who say that they're going to do something, I need them to actually follow through, because when they don't, it sends me into a panic attack because I need that information. I need that stuff in
Right.
order to do my work. And he knew that.
Right.
So, I mean, for me, it's a matter of no matter how hard I work, I still need the help. I
Right.
can't do all this alone. And because of the tag mentally ill, I need an advocate. And, you know, you or your daughter are both, uh, what's the way to explain this? You're not financially capable of being my advocate because you guys
Right.
have so much going on, but at the same time, you guys both understand well enough to be my advocate.
Right.
If
Yes.
you had the time to go to all my court dates and stuff like that with me, I mean, I would go sit in jail and take the abuse because I'd know that I had an advocate. I had somebody that I could hand all of this to, and they would have access to it, and they could give it to a lawyer. But I don't. All the people trying to help me out are poor. They're not people who have the time to spend on the phone all day. Well, all right, Shannon can. Shannon spends all day on the phone, you know, between texting and Facebook, and she's really interested in death, just like Sally Treon and a lot of the other people that were trying to help me. You know, they found out about me because they're into death. You know, they
Right.
found out about Natalie because they were into death. They went, "Oh, this is interesting," and that's their interest.
Right.
So you know, their interests scare the hell out of me. And also, all of these people are like, well, if somebody did this to me, I'd shoot them. Or if they did that to me, I'd shoot them. Everybody from Jamie to Candace to Sally to, I mean, all of these people, they told me that they would get violent. They would kill people. And I'm like, this isn't helping the situation at all. I need you to
Right.
listen, not talk about what you would do because you're not going to do those things. I've been listening to people say that they're going to castrate child molesters or they'll kill child molesters my entire life. And you know how many people I know who have castrated or killed a child molester? Zero.
None. Yep.
Now, before Natalie died, I started a campaign to expose these SOBs. I said, you know what? I've been hearing this my whole life about what you guys are going to do to these child molesters, and you're not going to. But I will. I'll expose them.
Right.
And then I let Natalie know that I was going to retaliate against those people if she didn't come forward. And I did. I exposed Tim Beeson and Ted Bollinger as child molesters.
Yep.
Not only that, I did it with their own words.
Yeah. And their faces. And the faces don't lie. You can't hide from that when you've been tagged something. They could say, "Oh, Sean did this. He's unstable," or "He's this." No. Sorry, but your face is out there labeled with Natalie's response underneath it. So that doesn't lie.
Exactly. And the thing that I exposed Ted with, that wasn't slander. How can it be
No.
slander from me if it's Natalie's words?
It's Natalie's words, almost like she's speaking from the grave, that, you know what? This is what he did to me. And now I'm safe to tell him because he can't hurt me.
Exactly. But that's the thing. People want to talk about justice for Natalie like coming after me is
Right.
justice. It's not.
No.
I gotta
Not at
let you
all.
go. I gotta pee.